House call. Oh my god, this episode from the Smurfs for 2021 sucks. Let me tell you the reasons why I hate this episode in my opinion. The episode starts Gargamel wakes up from his hovel feeling eerily sick. He tells this to Israel before throwing up in his cauldron. Much to Israel's disgust, Gargamel calls for his mother and starts hallucinating. As he touches Israel's whisker, he gets up and writes a note and tells Israel to send it to Mummy to treat him. But not before he throws up again. Israel runs out of the hovel in a rush. Meanwhile, Farmer and Brainy are in the forest picking blueberries, only to find Israel. The two run into a cliff but Israel hits the two of them and all three are sent falling. Luckily, Brainy and Farmer find the paper for Gargamel's mom and use it to glide safely to the other side of the forest while Israel crashes. Brainy and Farmer observe the note and decide to tell Papa Smurf about it. Papa Smurf reads the note in his lab that tells Mummy to come to his hovel. Brainy suspects this as a trap, along with Papa Smurf acknowledging that Gargamel is the enemy. Farmer, on the other hand, worries if he is sick. The word sick catches the attention of Doc, who wants to know who is sick. He assumes it's Brainy, who tells him that he has been feeling a little hurt since he crashed to the other side of the forest. Doc decides to hit him for self-assurance and concludes he is cured when he hits Brainy on the leg. Papa Smurf tells Doc that nobody is sick, but they don't know if Gargamel is telling the truth or not. He tells Brainy and Farmer to go to the hovel and see for themselves. Doc, however, says he must go with them, swearing that he has to cure anyone, friend or foe. The three rush to the hovel. In Gargamel's hovel, the wizard turns out to be seriously ill. Brainy and Farmer decide to go back to the village and tell Papa Smurf, only to find Doc going inside the hovel to tend to Gargamel. Farmer tries to warn him that they don't know where Israel is, but Doc says no cat will ruin him of his duties. Brainy and Farmer decide to go into the hovel to keep Doc safe. Doc observes Gargamel's body and eyes and tells Brainy he should totally be doing this. However, Gargamel notices the Smurfs and attempts to get them, but his stomach and cramps prevent him from doing so. As the Smurfs realize that it's not a trap, Doc decides to examine his tongue. As he hears the tongue, what comes out is a sheep bleeding. This confuses Brainy and Farmer, with their confusion returning as Doc concludes he needs glasses. Elsewhere, Mummy is out in the forest collecting mushrooms when Israel rushes up to her to attempt to tell her that Gargamel is sick. She catches on to this and they run to Gargamel's hovel. In the hovel, Gargamel is being tested by Doc. Mummy shows up at the door at the very moment the Smurfs are about to put spider juice in him and takes the three Smurfs, believing they did something to her son. Doc denies it and says they are here to help. Later, Mummy traps the three Smurfs in a cage and puts the ingredients together to make Gargamel feel well again. She tries to give it to Gargamel, but the wizard refuses, so Mummy has Israel swipe him, opening his mouth to scream and Mummy dumps the potion into it. The potion makes Gargamel spaz out until he falls on his back. Doc watches this and thinks he should take care of him, which Mummy detests until Doc says he has sworn an oath to help anyone in need. Mummy begrudgingly decides to trust him and if they fail, Israel will eat them. After getting Doc some water that they thought he needed for Gargamel, he drinks it for himself and then jumps on Gargamel's belly. He decides to get some cheese for Gargamel to see if it will melt on his head. It successfully does but Mummy suspects Doc as a charlatan. Doc denies this and tries another method. Doc gets himself, Brainy, and Farmer to pump gas in his stomach until he is sent flying. After a long moment of this, he lets out a gigantic burp. The minute Farmer thinks they have done something wrong, Doc tells him to leave this to the professionals. Just then, Israel remembers what got Gargamel sick. Earlier, he had told Israel a bewitched story of the three little pigs. It turns out Gargamel had mistook the popcorn for mushrooms. Israel tries to tell someone about this, but all that comes out are cat noises. Mummy hushes Israel under Doc's force. However, Mummy sees Doc shooting arrows at Gargamel, which doesn't work and gives him trauma. Brainy orders Doc to fix this or they'll be eaten. As Doc continues to use unethical solutions, Israel tells Brainy and Farmer that Gargamel ate bad mushrooms. This catches their attention, but unfortunately, Mummy slams Israel in a cage to shut him up. Mummy also gives Doc one last chance or else. Israel swipes Brainy and Farmer to the mushrooms and tells the two successfully that Gargamel ate the mushrooms. They catch on to this but get distracted by the arguing Mummy and Doc. Doc suggests surgery, which makes Mummy flip out. Gargamel suddenly yells about ogres and as he does, knocks Doc out of the chair he was standing on. Doc suddenly falls into Gargamel's mouth, making Brainy and Farmer come to the rescue with a captured Israel. They hit the cage, setting Israel and Doc free. Gargamel is finally cured, making the Smurfs cheer. However, Gargamel goes back to normal, recognizing the Smurfs, and they run out of the hovel in a hurry. Gargamel is hit with a book by Mummy while Israel misses the tiny mouse hole. Mummy begins to berate Gargamel for wasting her entire day because he couldn't tell the difference between popcorn and a mushroom. Doc, Brainy, and Farmer walk back to the village in the forest. Seeing he has fixed a patient he suspects Brainy and Farmer need surgery, the latter two run away. And that's how the episode goes. So, house call sucks. And so does Blossom Goes Wild. Dr. Brainy and Mr. Dumb is 637,132 times better than House Call. End of rant.